It was the verbal slugfest watched by billions. Donald Trump and Joe Biden going toe-to-toe in the first US presidential debate. Trump came out swinging, but Biden hit back, telling the president, quote, "Will you shut up, man?" Steve Van Apperen is Australia's own human lie detector. Here's his take on the raging debate. Steve, thanks for joining us. In politics, it's not always what you say, but how you say it. And statistically, the tallest, strongest candidate becomes president. So who looked and sounded like a leader?
Well, it was interesting, wasn't it? It was all about power, control and dominance, and it was almost like who yelled the loudest was the person who could get their message across. They were crossing over the top of each other. It was a shambles. It was probably one of the worst debates I've ever seen. But insofar as getting their word across and the message, I think that Trump overshadowed Biden. There were a couple personal attacks, but Biden did hold his ground, especially when he was attacked about his son and some other areas as well.
So we saw Trump physically dominate Hillary Clinton in the 2016 debate, stalking her all around the stage. Did he attempt to dominate with his body language today?
Yeah, look, at the start, he was quite well paced until they started talking about the Affordable Care Act. And then all of a sudden he became visibly irritated and quite defensive, and a lot of chopping moments in an effort to ram down his point. He was also quite dismissive, and a couple of times I saw the look of contempt and disdain when they were talking about some of the race riots going on in the States at that time as well. So he was very annoyed, but it just got worse and worse. And it was almost like he didn't only just try to control Biden, but he also tried to control the moderator.
Yeah, when he did that, when he barely let Joe Biden or the moderator speak and at times shouted at them at the same time, let's have a quick look.
Can I be honest? It's a very important
question. Try to be honest.
No, he stood up.
No, the answer to the question is no.
Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion, if you
that
get rid
is
of
absolutely
you know what,
not true.
You're doing it.
You're going to have
true,
gentlemen. I hate to raise my voice, but it seems to be. Why should I be different than the two of you?
So, as a body language reader, was that a plan of attack when he spoke over everybody, or a loss of control?
I think that's his true self. I mean, he's a street fighter. He goes in for the kill. He says what he thinks. He doesn't care how he comes across. So his body language was very aggressive, pointing and yelling, almost like raising his voice and whatnot. Whereas Biden didn't really, a lot of the time when Biden started responding, Trump sort of overpowered him. So I'd like to see Biden become a little bit more vocal rather than, as quietly confident, because at the end of the day, people look for leadership and they look for people who can get the message out with sincerity, and the problem was Biden didn't get a lot of airtime.
Yeah, when he did, he often looked straight into the camera and personally addressed the viewer. Here's one example when he was talking about COVID.
You folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding a phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
So addressing the voters directly, what's the strategy there?
The strategy is one about connection, because every time he looked towards Trump was attacking him. So I think it was quite an effective strategy insofar as looking straight down the lens of the camera and connecting and communicating with those people, and also using emotion in relation to what is a very emotional subject about the number of people who've died.
Donald Trump labels Biden Sleepy Joe, but Biden did get a good quote in at one stage. Let's have a listen.
He doesn't want
You're a
to answer
senator.
the question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the question is
the radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
Right, gentlemen. I think
this
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the court.
We have not
going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
So Joe's fighting back there. Was that enough?
Well, I'd like to see more. He started getting more confident, especially towards the end when he started expressing his feelings and emotions about his son. And that's when he really fired up. So
yeah, let's have a look at, sorry to interrupt, let's have a look at that.
Sure.
My son was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people left behind there were heroes.
Really?
And I resent.
Are you talking
like
about
hell.
Hunter? Are you talking about
I'm
Hunter?
talking about my son, Beau Biden. You're talking about.
I don't know, Beau. I know Hunter.
Yeah.
What did you read in the body language there?
Yeah, he's very emotional, very upset, and rightly so. I mean, you know, attacking family obviously really created an anxious moment, and he really fired up. And you could tell it was emotional and it was sincere. And of course, voters will connect with that. They want to see sincerity, but real sincerity. And I think, you know, the attack may have actually upset a couple of people.
Donald Trump has painted Joe Biden as being sleepy, doddery, old. Did Biden do enough to combat that?
Look, he started slow, come back. Towards the end, he was firing up much better. But there were a couple of cognitive moments where he really stuttered and stumbled over facts, figures, numbers, and we've seen that a number of times. I think what happens is during the heat of the argument, he was starting to stammer a little bit. But look, insofar as taking that out of the equation, I think he did come back, but he needs to be much stronger, much more confident, and really fight. He's got to have more fight in him.
So if you were advising them, what would you tell each of them to do in the next debate to improve?
Well, to start with, I'd like to see the mics cut so Trump can't, you know, take over the conversation. Secondly, I think what they need to do is both of them, they're like 12-year-old kids yelling and screaming at each other. What they need to do is be a little bit more calm, a little bit more relaxed. It was so chaotic. The moderator lost control. But not only that, to make your point and then instill your point. You know, short bites of what usually works and resonates with people. Make your point, support it with some sort of fact and evidence, and then move on to the next point. And try not to play in the hands of being too abusive or critical.
Okay, Steve Van Appen, thank you.